Welcome to Parrot Show. My name is Peter Ogenan. Tonight I'm here with some amazing African leaders in Ireland. I have on my far right Deaconess Yemi Ojo, Community Development Professional in Dublin, and the CEO Integration of All Children in Ireland. Okay. You have Mr. Clement Esebamen, Director, Ireland West Africa Business Council.
Thank you.
And the mother of the Queen, Mrs. Salako, Louth African Women Support. And we have the Eze Ndigbo himself, Eze Emeka Ezeani, Eze Ndigbo Ireland, Principal Odira and Company Solicitors, Dublin.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the roundtable discussion with Parrot Show.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. We are just going to go straight to the discourse of tonight. It is about African children in Ireland, those who are making the waves, those who are making us proud, and those who unfortunately are not doing that. But for tonight, we are going to be looking at those who are not making us proud. On this paper, this is Mentro Aaron by Chinedu Onyenjelem. There's an article here that talks about black children from Africa, the teenage violence in Ireland. And from what we have seen over the years, that is increasingly growing. This violence among black children started a long time ago, 2015, 2014. But unfortunately, the ethnic media and the mainstream media are beginning to talk about it. There are videos of the violence. There are newspaper reports of the violence. And I think it is only good that we, that are African leaders in Ireland, start to talk about these issues. This is not an issue that we will leave for the Irish people to talk about while pretending that it is not there. So tonight we are kickstarting the discussion. But we are going to, for tonight, look at the role of parents, African parents. Are we doing enough? What has gone wrong? Why is this the issue of violence in Dublin, in Drogheda and different communities amongst African children? Why is it coming on? And what do we do about it? That is the issue tonight. Maybe I will start with Deaconess Yemi Ojo.
Thank you very much, the CEO of Parrot Show, for bringing this to the awareness of parents. As an African mom and also as a professional, of course, we have loads of young people that are having challenges in their day-to-day situations. And we also have the ones that are making us, proud as well. To put it in perspectives, when you say young people that are going through one challenges or the other, I don't want to say they are not making us proud. One thing must have led to them misbehaving, and it is important for us to touch base on few of the things that might make them to be misbehaving or having challenges behavior. One might be lack of parental support. And when we talk about parental support, in the area of love, are we giving our children enough love? Are we making them the #1 on our agenda? Are we making our faith to take over our parental role as a parent? When they come back from school, do they have that positive feedback from us? Do we ask them, how are you doing today? At the end of the day, when our children are not getting a positive feedback from even their parents at home or their guardian, they will go elsewhere to look for that support. So it is important to discuss why are these children are behaving like this. And also, you know, coming to our culture, it's like we have a structured way in which our children should be. We're in a different culture now, and there are different type of things that can influence our children. But the way we were raised, if we want to raise our children that way and don't give the balance, that's another reason why our children misbehave. You know, you can take the village out of a child, but you can't take the child, you know, from the village. You can take the child from the village, but the village is still in the child. A lot of parents are very rigid in the way. Most of the time, we are quick to say, spare the rod, you spoil the child. You know, there are different ways in which we can rod our children. So to say, we can rod them with positive love, and then to bring out the best in them. You know, we can rod them with communication. We don't communicate. We shout, and then we're in an environment whereby that is considered emotional abuse. So it is very important, you know, I work in the health sector as well. So we see all these things on a daily basis. And parents will be saying, oh, that wasn't the way I was raised. You know, now that we are in this environment, we should learn to communicate with our children, not to talk at them, communicate with them, and at the same time trying to hear the abuse. That does not make you a weak parent. It actually makes you a strong parent, because you are listening to your children, you are giving them a listening ears, you are communicating with them. So all these things put together will help us to kind of address the issues of young people that are going through negative behavior in the society. And some of these children, I so much believe that all our young people have positive potentials in life. And if we nurture them with the right ingredients, coming from my perspective.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mr. Clement Esebamen, all our young people have got positive potentials in life if we nurture them. Are we doing that?
It's difficult to say that we are or not, because different people, different families, different backgrounds, there's no one unique identity that is African. Or black, even for that matter. People come from different family structures and different situations. And Sister Yemi alluded to that just now. People are going through different difficulties. But why we are beginning to talk about this is that this is 2018. And you will realize that large-scale migration of people of African descent into Ireland really started around the turn of the century. Teenagers, anybody will tell you, that are usually challenging. I was a handful myself, but the reality is that we need to understand, and we need to be able to, as adults and as parents, be able to project what is positive. One of the key things that young people, teenagers, people who are rebelling, you know, it's really because they see a dissociation or a disconnection or almost a contradiction between what you say and what you do, whether as a parent, as a society, or as individuals. So this brings up mixed emotions with them. You know, they are growing and they are experiencing new things. They are being influenced by other people. So the tendency to act out as a resistance to this kind of contradiction is always the case in all societies, whether they are black, white, or otherwise. But the difference is that there is a measure of control. And I was talking to one of my young friends just this week, and he was telling me that, oh, these young fellas growing up here, especially those that are born here, they have no care, that they're not afraid of anything. And I find that to be a profound statement made by a young adult who grew up here, but he wasn't born here. And he's saying the ones coming behind him, they actually have worse attitude than their own cohort did have. So there is a challenge, you know, potential, and then how you use that potential, and how parents, ourselves, the community, people that they look up to, the role models, are able to project a positive image. And that is very important. Once that is lacking, it is impossible to get back. You know, we don't want to get into a situation down the road where we are now looking at the prison pipeline. You know, because I understand that that's already unfortunately beginning to happen, even in Ireland. You know, there's already a pipeline from some areas, from some people from some parts of the community getting into trouble. And, you know, anecdotally, people are just waiting. Cops, institution systems is waiting for them to be 18 for them to go into the pipeline. And that is going to be a real sad situation. So it is time that we begin to actually articulate what we see and then put the message out there to young people with potential that you do not have to act out because other people are acting out. This is the age of YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. You know, you can be a millionaire by the time you are 18. You can be the next Bill Gates. You have everything in this society, and kids in Nigeria are doing it. Kids in Ghana are doing it. Kids in South Africa are doing it. You know, and if you are acting out in an environment where you actually have access to a lot of things, or some people say everything, then, you know, the onus or the blame is on you. You know, and you cannot get away with anything here. You know, people cannot act as if you can get away with anything. You go about fighting, you know, organizing into gangs and all of that kind of stuff. You are just under 18, and that's the only leverage you have, because when you become of age, you know, it will catch up with you, and that is the reality. We need to stress that enough so that when kids, you know, high school, you are in secondary school, finish that. Your living cert is your first certificate. Get it. And then from there, you're moving on to achieve your potential.
If we were here today discussing how our children are becoming lawyers, like your child just did, your child just graduated,
the law,
or your child is 2009 Miss Nigerian Ireland, she has a dance academy, and you have other children who have gone to school in Ireland and have all graduated. And if we were here celebrating them now, I would be very happy. But now we are talking about, in the midst of all those successes, we are talking about few who, you know, bad news always spread faster than the good news. So from your experience, what do you do? You work in school. You have children who have all graduated, and you are no longer afraid of this antisocial behavior that we're talking about. And they are all the pairs of these children that we're talking about. So what do we really do, and what do you think is causing this problem?
Well, like I always say, when we're talking of this issue of parenting, a lot of mothers, parents, get it wrong. And what happened in our own case was that when people came into Ireland, you will notice that women came alone with these children. And a lot of these children, mothers are carrying emotional baggages themselves that did not allow them to give the time, the normal time they're supposed to give to their children. And apart from those carrying emotional baggages, there are loads that don't even have time for children at all. I always use my own example, and this is what I always say to people, that what you don't want to see in your children, don't model it. Don't do it. We're not in the age of do what I say and not what I do. You have to model the good, behavior to children for them to copy. What I did in my own case was when I got here and I saw that any little thing is child abuse, I said, no, there's no way I'm going to take this. Because I have all girls. What do I do? So I went for parenting course here. That was my first step. And I combined what was good in this system with what I received from my own parents. And it helped me a lot. You must have time for your children. You must be interested in their lives, in their education. How can a child go to school, come back into the house alone, not meeting anybody?
Nothing. Right.
The child has, chance to go out. We left these children to the society to train for us, to their peer group. And what they got from them is what we are seeing today. It's so alarming because I hear a lot of stories about our teenage
Children.
boys and girls. And they are doing terrible things, not just, being in gang. What they practice in the gang is so terrible that even the parents cannot control them anymore. They can't. They can't.
Great.
So I believe that when you are parenting children, it's a lifetime sacrifice. You have to throw your life into it. Give them your best. Because by the time they become adults, whatever you have, put in them will now come out. You are the one that will enjoy it. So it's a two-way thing. If you give them the time they require, and you monitor their lives the way you're supposed to, and put them in God's hand, there's no way you will not enjoy them. There's no way these girls will not come, these children will not come out well in life. This is what I did, and it worked. A lot of parents did it as well.
Yeah, you see, I know that you have a lot of experience, and you have more to share with us. Eze Ndigbo, the mother of the Queen said, give children your time and monitor them. As a solicitor in Ireland, I know that you must have seen a lot of cases that has to do with our young people growing up. The violence, a lot of things that are coming up now from the mainstream media, and even our own Metro era is beginning to write about it. So what are your experience? What do you know about this issue?
Well, I have been troubled greatly with recent developments in relation to our young children, particularly with unruly behavior, antisocial behavior, and in some instances, criminal activity. There are two, when you look at it, and I'm happy, my fellow members of this panel have talked about parenting issues and talked a lot about, where we're coming from and all that. Yeah, there is a serious problem with parenting. Yeah, it's when you look at this, you have to look at it from different, perspectives, in terms of parenting, in terms of the society, in terms of the social structure, and in terms of support that we have. When you look at it from the parenting aspect of it, just like Mrs. Ojo rightly said, initially a lot of mothers came in here alone with the children, and some fathers did join their families much later, and some are still not here. And then if you observe that the trend we had back in 2000 and from 2000, 18 years back, that trend is also repeating itself in the last 6 or 7 years, with a lot of people getting Irish citizenship. We've seen this time around fathers leaving families behind, either to go to the UK or to go elsewhere to look for the so-called greener pasture. And so you find that the family again is divided and somehow broken. So a lot of these children have grown up in single parent families. And I'm not saying that blaming it on single parent families, but you see, children do better when there's a father and there's a mother there giving all that support. In some cases it's not been there. So in relation to parenting, also children, as they grow up, particularly when they are very young age, their minds are just like, they have a mindset of like a sponge. They soak what they see, they copy. As they say, monkey, you do, and then you just, what they see is what they copy. And when, parents have not done much themselves. Because sometimes if you want to be respected, you have to give somebody something to respect. If you want your child to respect you and to behave properly, you, the mother or the father, must equally set an example. And you find that in most families where there's been 100% dependence on social welfare benefits, where people have not bother to make any effort for themselves. Where no parent is working, no family member is doing anything positive, nobody is doing anything to work themselves up. There's just no example, nothing for the child to copy. And you find that at some stage when the child is growing up and you want to correct them, and then they retort back at you. And what did you do with your life, Mom? Why are you talking to me like that? What have you done about yourself? You lose that moral authority as a parent to talk to your child because you haven't done anything yourself. You know, and then you begin to find that you don't have that thing there, that, you know, to say to the child, look, do this, do that, and whatever. So it's a major failure there. I'm visiting that, you know, saying that as parents, some of us have failed woefully. In spite of all the supports. Ireland provides a lot of support, I must say that. And the Irish government has been very fair, very supportive to the immigrant family. I can't compare in terms of other European countries, but I must say what I know, that the support structures you have generally within the Irish society is extremely fair. It is enough to help anybody that wants to move themselves up from a particular level to another level. But we are not taking advantage of those. And also apart from that, because we are not also taking advantage of those levels, most of our parents are not so involved in parent-teacher meetings and activities. They don't get so much involved in issues pertaining to the welfare of their children. And so that creates some problems, you know, in that department. And then you begin to look at, again, the structures that we have. When I talk about, you know, the social system and what have you. The system we have in place, both within the school, both in terms of guidance and counseling, you know, is inadequate. Most of the teachers and most of the people running these systems are not well equipped to deal with diversity. They are not well equipped. They are not. There's a huge need for cultural training. I know there's been a lot of it going on. Much has been said about it, you know, but there's that awareness is not there. So you find that, you know, a child coming from a background different from yours, if you understood them properly as a teacher, as a guidance, as a counselor, you might be able to relate more with them. You might be able to identify with the issues that they face. They face challenges, enough challenges coming from a different background already. So you have failures within the system in being able to support these new arrivals, these children who are trying to become or have become part of the new communities. That is, you know, one serious issue you have there. And then looking at it as well in terms of our own, we as a people, because we don't just talk about parents. It's not just about parents. It takes a community to raise a child. You know, as a community, are we united? Are we leaving any positive influences there? Our communities, our African societies, our state associations, we as a people, there's so much fragmentation that at times, you know, some of the youngsters says, oh, you Africans, you quarrel a lot, I don't want to identify with that, you know, and what have you. So issues arise, you know, from there, from that perspective as well. So just, you know, I know we'll probably look at other aspects of it as well. I'll equally, you know, talk about just a little bit more about this issue of community support there. There is a whole lot, the African church has a massive influence in Ireland. Majority of Africans in Ireland attend Pentecostal churches. And the church has a big role to play. But I'm afraid that with all the authority that the church has, the church is failing in that regard. I've often spoken to some of my friends who are pastors to say that, you know, whilst it is very, very important to minister on the spiritual needs of the people, we mustn't also fail on our duty, the duty of the church, to ensure that messages of hard work, success, education, do something with your life. Be interested in your congregation. Help those who require support, you know. Reach out to the young members in your church, you know. Support. not just about let's pray about it. The African church is very powerful,
Right.
you know,
I agree with
very
that.
successful.
That's
The
true.
church is equally rich, you know,
Yes.
but resources from the church need to be put within the community to support the
Our
community,
young people.
particularly
Yeah.
our young people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the area where I feel that, you know,
The church should do
the
something.
church as one major part of our community can play a leading role in this,
Yes.
in making sure that these are issues are dealt with, because for some, at
All
least
right,
I know
okay,
that
the
church still has, a lot of these youngsters attend churches,
Yeah.
and a lot of our church leaders still have some
Authority
influence
to
in their
influence
lives.
them. Yeah.
We'll come
Yeah.
back to that. But let's still a little bit on looking at the single parenting that you talked about.
Yeah.
We know that amazing single parents, they alone, they have brought up their children to be whatever they want to be, positively. So in talking about single parents now, maybe I would like us to kind of define and try to, put them in perspective. There are single parents who are single parents not because they want to be. And when they find themselves in that situation, they make the best out of it. They train their children to aim for the best.
Yeah.
But there are single parents that for some reasons I cannot explain are in quest of that status to be a single parent. And when they get that, all they do are some of the things we've talked about. They don't care about their children. By now we know how some parents parties from Monday to Friday, from Friday to Sunday, non-stop. And their children know about this. And children are most likely to copy what their parents are doing. So that is what I want us to talk about. Because when we go to school or you speak to the authority, they tell you that from statistics, most of these children are children from broken homes. Then we now need to start asking ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Are we patient enough when for one little misunderstanding or the other in the home, it leads to, break up in the home? Are we looking at the children, thinking of what becomes of them when that situation does arise? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Mr. Perrod. Single parenting sometimes is by choice by some parents. They become single parents because it's their choice. And I would like to say this upfront. From my perspective, I have zero tolerance to domestic violence. If any home, any woman out there is going through any form of domestic violence, the one that can lead to her death, I would say yes.
Any kind.
Exactly, any kind. If that's the reason why a particular person now become a single parent, it's understandable. But like you said, children do better in a home where you have both parents, because at the end of the day, the two parents are there to nurture these children for the best. We have to nurture our children for the best. And when a parent now decides that as a result of all the good things that is happening around them, as a result of the law being on their side, being a woman, they forget their culture, they forget where they are coming from, they never put their children first, and decide maybe because of the money that they are receiving from the government to become a single parent, I say that's a no-no. If you have a misunderstanding with your husband, even after every misunderstanding, most of the time, it makes the relationship stronger. You can't just throw in the towel. I tell people, when you throw in the towel, from the spiritual perspective, what are you going to use to dry your body when you look at it? We can't just throw in the towel, especially when children are involved and it's not a situation of domestic violence. So, my fellow women out there that are single parents, or people that are thinking about calling the gas on their husband just because they want to be a single parent, I would say that's not the right thing to do. Because these children will grow up, at the end of the day, they will get out of hands, and you will not be able to take it. Believe me, every child that is good belongs to the father, and the one that is not, they will point at the mother. So if you think you are out there trying to chase your husband away from the house because maybe one boyfriend is hiding around the corner, or because of the money, or because of the society, and you can dial that number 123, we should remember the culture we are coming from. When you get married, you are not only married to your husband. Forget about the European law. Your husband has parents. Your husband have people that he respects, that you can call, to at least you have a spiritual father, which is from the church perspective or from the mosque perspective, if you are a Muslim, that can help shed light. Every home has hiccups. No marriage is 100%. At the end of the day, you can find a way to make your home unite so that we can bring up lovely children. From my perspective, I think for some parents, being a single parent is something that they desire because of maybe from the financial perspective, because of the freedom, one way or the other. So it is very important to live through our challenges and try to sort it out. I believe in this word learn. Learn is L-E-A-R-N, 5-letter word. You love. There should be love in your relationship. You educate. Whatever it is that is not going well in your home, try to educate one another. You can't just throw in the towel. The A for appreciation. You appreciate one another. You appreciate your husband. You appreciate your wife. You appreciate your children. The R, respect, is reciprocal. You respect, even in our society, children are to be seen, not heard. But we need to respect our children as well. Some people might even want to break my head for what I'm saying. But when you do these things, and then the N stands for nurturing. As a parent, you must nurture your home. You must nurture your relationship. This thing is so, because marriage is sweet. Love is sweet. This thing is so in my heart that people should use this 5-letter word, to build their home. And the end result is always positive. You mentioned my daughter a while ago, who just graduated from law school at the top of her class. We came here to do the a little bit of get together. And the way myself and my husband we were dancing.
Just a minute. I know that some of us want to drink something because
we're talking.
Okay. So you can
bring it. You can bring the tea. Sorry, madam. People are wrapped.
Yeah, we're wrapped. Please drink more.
I need, please.
No.
You are from Louth.
All right, Mr. Esebamen. Sister Yemi Deaconess Yemi was talking about not being responsive to the needs of the children. So I'm asking, when instead of paying attention to the needs of your children, you have decided that you will look for money to buy clothes to attend the next party, you will stay out at night to attend the other party from Monday to Sunday, and you think you're happening, living the life your children are now supposed to be living, because it is when you are in your teenage years that you attend parties all the time. But some of our parents want to attend party every day. So if that were to be the case, or if you are in that class of single parents, or even parents under husband, do you think is the best? Or are they advising their children to go ahead and join the anti-social behavior group if they cannot be found within the children who after school go for extracurricular activities?
Well, when you put it like that, there's no way I can disagree with what you are saying. But the challenge really is that when we talk about young people with challenging behavior, we begin to look at parents and say, okay, where are the parents, and and then of course research has shown us in other places, in other societies, that single parent household, like you have said, Yemi, have this tendency. But the reality also might just be that not just lone parents are experiencing this issue. There are people whose parenting skills, whose capabilities are quite challenged, and then dealing with challenging teenagers it's always a matter of hit and miss or in some of these homes. But for the rest of the society, people deal with this every day. But it's about the skills and the empowerment that they have learned. Yeah. You know, maybe passed down from their own parents from when they were growing up by learning, you know, what they've learned to be able to manage their children. And all of us, we are trying to learn that every day. You know, as a parent of a young child as well myself, I want to be able to, you know, live up to that expectation, to give that right guidance and make the balance right, you know. So, but I know that it is always easy for us to say single parents and that people are going to parties and all of that kind of stuff. You know, people are in different situations. There are people who party from morning to night and they have fantastic children. You know, there are people, but more likely than not, if that's what you do, children are going to take an example from there. And then if they party, then you should positively reinforce their partying so that they can be the best party goers. You know, don't try to stop them while you are partying and they're watching you, and then you are saying they shouldn't do what you're doing. Because everything really has consequences, and we have to be very much aware of that. The reality out there today is that for young black boys, nobody, I don't know, some parents are trying, but a lot of people, like for my own generation, for my own age, for some of the people I know, nobody really taught us anything. You know, we just made it up as we went along. You know, you are a boy and you have privileges. You know, and these privileges just entitles you to, you know, to go about and do whatever it is that you can get away with. So the idea was not to get caught, you know, in whatever it is that you did, and that's where I'm coming from. And I don't think that's a good thing. A lot of people that I grew up with didn't really make it out of their environment because of the fact that they internalized that attitude. You know, so for you to come down, you know, off that high energy, high octane environment of being male, you know, in my society, or in my, let me talk about my family, you know, you have to really, I have brothers as well, you know, who in one way, shape or form have been able to modify their behavior to come out on the other side. But some of them didn't. You know, my cousins, my brothers, some of them did not. And, you know, the consequences are there for us to see today. They might be materially successful, you know, because we live in a world now where we equate success to what we have. You know, how many Gucci or how many millions do I have in my bank account, right? So at the end of the day, what is really your legacy? What are we leaving for our next generation? What are we leaving for our children? Because right now we are discussing why are there so many, right now, young black boys especially, I don't know about the girls, but young black boys especially in Dublin West, in North Dublin, in North County Dublin, in Barbican, in Tala, in Blanchardstown, are forming and organizing as gangs, you know, and this gang lifestyle is taking a whole new turn. So I wouldn't say parenting has a lot to do with how the child presented themselves, but this contradiction, I will always say there is a contradiction between who we are, where we are coming from, where we are, and how we are raising our children and what our children are saying. So if it's about partying and they see partying and you try to, you know, hypocrisy. As teenagers, what we call out, as a teenager, the first thing you call out is hypocrisy. You know, you say one thing and you do another thing, and then you expect me to respect you. I'm not going to respect you. I'm going to do my own thing. Because I know, because teenagers, they just all of a sudden have come into new information and they feel they know it more than you do. So you really have nothing to show them. And we have a lot of families who have come into this country, we've said this before, who are very poorly equipped and who have not taken the opportunities that Eze Ndigbo has talked about. And the opportunities are there. But how do we respond? And how do we as a society begin to move past the blame culture? Who is to blame? Nobody is to blame. We're in a new environment. Children are growing up. Some will make mistakes. Some will find the right path. What we want to do is that we want to get as many, majority of people as possible to live their life as young children. You know, if young people want to have a party, Do they have a place to have a party? Because they should have a party.
They should.
That's what young people do. Don't, let us find a safe environment. Do parents actually actively begin to get involved in creating a safe environment for their young people to nurture and to grow and to respect each other? Because it's about respect. Yeah. If they are not respecting themselves, they are not respecting you, they won't respect the law. And that is where people go wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Clement. I think that talking about having a place to have a party, they do have a place to have a party. It might not be enough. But what we are saying is the places where teenagers can have their parties and enjoy themselves, some young people who have decided to be social deviants go there and close down the parties.
No, but let me disagree with you. It's lack of adult supervision. It's if you have been dodgy about your party venue without the appropriate license, then you are afraid to call out people who are behaving badly.
Clement,
but what I'm trying to say,
okay, let me say this.
From that perspective, let me quickly say this. When it comes to socializing, my grandparents shun their children socializing because a fear of the unknown, and it shouldn't be. A time should be created. You should trust your child. You should equip your child and let them know the safety condition in where they are going. Equip them with telephone, equip them with money, and tell them you trust them. So we should begin to parent in a way that our children will respect us and at the same time listen to what we are saying.
Thank you so much. That brings me back. Let's come back to the topic for today. Mrs. Salako, your children are grown up now. They grew up under the same environment. Yeah. And if we don't know any of them, at least we do know Emanuela Salako, who is a member of the Miss Nigerian Islands, and she's the face of the Miss Nigerian Island till date. She's a role model. So tell us, what do you think about parents, especially single parents now, because we are dealing with single parents now, who would rather sacrifice the time for their children, for their personal enjoyment and satisfaction?
Well, there's a saying that an idle hand is a devil's workshop. Definitely, if you don't engage these children, they will find something to do. And let me quickly say that we all need authority over us. All of us, we need God's authority. A woman needs her husband's authority to stay under the husband's authority. And the children need to stay under the authority of the parents. And where that is lacking, there's a big problem. Where a woman will not take authority from the husband, there is a big problem. Because you are training your children not to take your own authority as well. And this is a very delicate society we live in. Very, very delicate society that we live in. It is very important that as parents, not a woman alone, as parents, you need to improve yourself so that your children can benefit from it. You need to understand the stages of development of children for you to have the right parenting skills. If you don't know, you cannot do it right. You need to know that a 2-year-old naturally will throw tantrums. And they don't throw it at home alone. It is when they get to the supermarket or public places.
Yeah.
You need to know how to handle tantrums. You need to know that when your children, they get to like age 6, you are introducing them to the world. That's the time they go to school. That is the time of socialization for them. They make friends. You need to know who their friends is. How do they relate with others? The teenage year is full of storm and stress because these children are neither here nor there. They are confused. They are not adults. They are not children. So they are confused. This is where they need parental guidance and support. But a lot of times, parents don't understand these stages. A lot of them will, they will say, oh, it's a spiritual thing. And they will, be running from pillar to post, going from church to church to pray. When you can do things right on your own. And when you don't put children in the proper way, definitely the society will hijack these children. We are in, you know, in a world of technological advancement. What we didn't know, they know it. And they do a lot of things on the internet that we don't know. But with proper guidance from the onset, these children will know what is wrong and what is right. I always say to parents, don't ever make rules without your children's involvement. You make house rules, you ask them to come up with the consequences of the rules themselves. Let them make the rules. You just, adjust where you think the wording is wrong. Make the rules, put consequences, and when they cross the boundary, children need to grow within boundaries. When they cross that boundaries, make sure that the consequence is, go through the consequence to the letter. Because if you don't, you become a toothless bulldog. They say she won't do anything. So we really need to understand all these simple skills in parenting for us to do it right. And I think we're not going to look at those who have, gone wrong. We have to help those who are coming up. So that the next generation will not be like those who have gone wrong now. We will find solution to those ones, but we still need to educate parents to do it right. Because they are the pride of tomorrow for us.
The Eze Ndigbo of Ireland, we are still talking about single parents. And do you think it's high time single parents who are not taking responsibilities, high time they sit up and start doing the needful?
Well, I'll hate to just blame the issues of antisocial behavior and underachievement amongst our children squarely on the shoulders of single mothers. There are a lot of single mothers there who are doing a wonderful job. A lot of single mothers who are raising wonderful children, great achievers. So I don't want us to stereotype the single mother or blame the single mother for the problems that some of our youngsters are exhibiting. I don't think it's so much of a problem of a single parentage, although we have accepted, and I said it earlier, that children do better where there are both parents at home. But in some circumstances, you find out that some families end up being single parent families. And we have looked at some of the causes. It's been said about, some fathers not being there, not because they don't want to be there, either they are in another part of the world. And sometimes economic circumstances force, parents, parents to move to one area of the world while the other. So there's so many issues there. And then you also have strife and, breakdown of relationship. Now, one of the biggest challenges we have within the community here is marriage breakdown, relationship breakdown, family breakdown. Within the African community, this issue is becoming very serious. We're beginning to see a lot of families breaking up. We're beginning to see a lot of divorces. We're beginning to see a lot of separation. And when these things happen, it impacts on the family. And in most cases, children bear the brunt of it. And sometimes children respond to these developments, in different ways, and sometimes not so positively. Some of the children we see, going astray are sometimes children who have had to deal with, divorce, who have had to deal with marital breakdown, who have experienced domestic violence at home, who have not had much love from both parents, and what have you. So we need to look at this, from, take a holistic approach, to it, and understand that, yes, it is not. I know that some people feel that it is a choice, that they can decide, I want to have children, I don't need a man in my life. It is a lifestyle decision. But then there are consequences for that, But there are people who also feel that, no, you don't need to have a husband, you don't need to have a man and a woman raise, children for them to be good. You also have people who are, gay who feel that, you don't have to, two men can raise, wonderful children, So, I mean, it's a different thing altogether. But what we need to look at as individuals, whether we are single parents or whether we are married, husband and wife, are we doing what we are supposed to do? In doing what we're supposed to do, do we also get support from the system to do what we are supposed to do? These are very serious issues that we need to address. Okay. Like I said, within our migrant community here, culture is a very important issue. A lot of our children have crisis of identity. First generation immigrant parents coming from Africa who have had children here, you expect them to behave like an African, to reflect where they come from, and they also have a pressure to conform with, the Irish way of life. And then you as a father yourself, or as a parent, you are not reinforcing some of the positive things about your culture on your children. When I talk about culture, look at the Indians, look at the Chinese. They're strict. They adhere strictly to their culture. If an Indian child was born in Ireland, or a Chinese child, they speak Chinese language. Even before they go to primary school, they speak Chinese language. They follow the Chinese way of life, okay? They respect their parents. Certain things are expected of them. The Indians, they believe, because the parents have gone ahead to stamp on them to teach them their cultural values. So there are things you don't expect to see an Indian boy doing on the streets of Dublin. There are things you will not expect a Chinese teenager doing on the streets of Dublin. Are they not teenagers as well? What about our own African children? Do they have a code? No. Do we have a value system? No. Do they have to conform to certain ways? No. Because we have not told them who they are. Because sometimes even we ourselves as parents do not know who we are. Exactly. We do not understand where we're coming from. And if you don't know who you are and where you're coming from, you are completely lost. So it's very important that we deal with these issues, that children understand that, listen, there are expectations. Our value system, our African culture is one that promotes solid hard work, respect, community spirit, respect for others, respect for yourself.
Very important.
All this is missing. And when you take us as a people together, we are dragging and pushing in different directions. The Yoruba is not united in Ireland. The Igbos are not united. The Ishan, the Edos are not united. We don't even love one another. So it's important that, we embrace our culture. It's important also that we make our children take pride in their culture, in their identity as Africans, in their identity as black people, because when they understand who they are and where they're from, they can be confident, about who they are and about how they deal with society. So you find, like I said, the community itself, because when you look at a society, children are products of the community that they operate in. The African community, the way it is now, and in the interpersonal relationships we have, do not encourage youngsters to bring out the best out of them. As a matter of fact, most even youngsters do not want to associate with other Africans or within the African community, because they say all you people do is quarrel. All you do is quarrel and not whatever there. So, I mean, without going in much into adult issues, those other issues there, we need as a people to parents and as community leaders, to tackle this problem as much as we have identified some of these issues, some of these challenges, because back home we have a community response to issues. We say that it takes
two to have a child, and it takes a village to raise that child. So we should bring it into
so we need to bring that into our fold there, so that we're beginning to respond to these issues. Sometimes single parents or even married couples can't deal with it all by themselves. We need to have mentoring schemes that we organize. We need to get involved, either from the part of community leaders, professionals. We need to talk to our youngsters We need to guide them. Sometimes they don't get the right guidance, support from school, mentoring within the community. For those who want to become carpenters, learn a trade, those who want to become doctors, those who want to become scientists, those who want to become nurses. There should be African nurses, professionals out there volunteering their time to kind of mold, explain and help these youngsters, get to where they want to get to. Sometimes, it's very challenging, for them, but we must give a lot of support. And again, the response, just finally, like I said, as much as there are problems within the African community, there is, we have parenting issues and all that. The society, like I said, within the extended society, the Irish institutions, the schools themselves, social services, they're not responding and dealing with some of these issues as much as they should. And there's not enough funding devoted to that. The response to issues affecting black children or the immigrant community, sometimes you have this, what do I put it, this emergency approach to it. You don't have a well-developed, sustained, systematic development to deal with it, because you have people who have just arrived from a new community, an immigrant from another part of the world who are here, who do not have the support that some of their classmates have. They have aunts, they have uncles, they have grandparents. They have a whole lot of support, within the system. Sometimes it is lacking and it's not being provided, and there's not a gap there to deal with these issues. So we need support. Single mothers need support. Married couples need support generally. These children as well who are underperforming in schools need support, and the school system must respond to it, because they're, at the end of the day, Irish citizens. If they are underachieving, the society will be affected in general.
I would like to quickly say that, okay.
Because I'm in the school system. The school system has enough support system. If only parents were coming to access. A lot of, you just said it, that some parents wouldn't even show up for parents-teachers meeting. How would you know your child's performance? How would you know his performance when you don't show up? There are loads of support system there. My children went through these things. I have teachers from schools who will come home to give my children extra lesson for free. For free.
Yeah, it is what you have that you're going to give. As parents, some parents don't even have the positive background of their childhood, so they don't know how to parent. So coming from the solution perspective,
what is the way forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. Parents need to educate themselves, make themselves available for positive parenting. Nobody is too old to learn. So there are 2 weeks, 1 week parenting courses. There's a training that my organization does called child protection training, which is super tactics for super parents. We go to mosques, to churches to give this training. Parents should make themselves available for this. Some of us, we are building, some people are building big houses at home. At the end of the day, these children might not even go home to live in these houses. Exactly. So we are playing with our tomorrow. So it is what we give into our children, that's what we're going to gain back. So another way forward is that as parents, we always say, what I did not achieve, I want my children to achieve it. A lot of children does not have the brain to be a doctor, to be an engineer, to be a professor somewhere. Whatever your child is good at, whatever it is that is the passion of your child, especially our male children, they can do exploits, but whatever their passion is, support them to achieve that goal. There are people that want to be the best caterer in the world, that want to be the best hairdresser and all that stuff. It won't bring a disgrace to the society if we as parents support our children in the areas of their interest. It will be a win-win situation for us to do that, because we must remember old age is coming, and it is what we give into our children that we're going to get. Nurturing our children is very, very important. Like we said, it's not a matter of to just a single parent, parent with both, family with both parents alone. All this together, we must work together to get the best out of our children. And our faith is also very important. Whatever faith you belong to, like the Bible says that the Lord is the head of the church and the father is the head of the home. So if we put it in perspective, not like a mother's rights, father's rights, or we have to make it 50-50. By the time we start making our own rule, it will not work. It will definitely affect the way in which we are bringing up our children. So the way forward, I believe we should all work together and work on that saying that says, it takes a village to raise a child. When you see someone else's child misbehaving out there or doing good, let us try to empower them. and also, Mr. Perod, let us also start showcasing our children that are doing exploit, that are doing great things in the society. Yeah. Thank you.
You know, absolutely. I mean, Yemi, I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the way forward. Yeah. I just wanted to say to a lot of young folks out there, if you're growing up and you're feeling pressured to be one way or the other, whether by your parents or your friends or whatever they are doing, just understand that, you know, you're only a teenager for a short time. And then after that comes life reality, where you will have to leave home, where you will have to get something to do and all of that. But I've seen people who were teenagers only 5 years ago. You know, they were 15, 16, now they're 21, 22, just out of college 1 year, and the second year they're already a manager in their job. You know, so this is a young guy who was a tear away, but they grew up in a single parent family. You know, they had their 4 boys, they grew up and they all eventually went to college, to my surprise, because I really didn't think they were going to make it. You know, but what they did was to learn discipline. They learned discipline and they begin to take responsibility for themselves. What they told me was that, what I started doing was that, you know, if I was playing football, I trained harder than everybody. You know, if I was in school, I'll put my assignment in before everybody. It was just the next thing before them. They were taking the next step before them. So put your foot in front of you. Whatever it is that you want to do tomorrow, do it. But do it with full conviction so that you can defend it even before Trump. Yes. I don't care. You know, whatever it is that you want to do, don't be very confident. You know, be very confident in whatever it is that you're doing. Because really, most of the time, all of the things that we see as a crisis may not even really be a crisis. It's just that we are not in that situation and we don't understand it. But one of the things I will tell you for free is that being in a gang, you know, where you feel that you are protected and you are in a code, it's all a joke. We all went through it. Everybody go through this phase. You feel you have no choice. You feel, there is no way out. You feel frightened and you are afraid. It's a lie. Talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody about what somebody said to you, the threat that was made to you. You know, so at the end of the day, we need to be able to understand that there is always a choice before you as a young person. Whatever you are doing today, stand behind your action. You know, stand behind your action. Don't think that you will duck responsibility. So if you're out there doing terrible, bad things to other people, be very confident that you can stand over it in 10, 20 years' time, or even tomorrow, because there is how you learn discipline and take responsibility. And I'm talking to some of those people out there who think they are some kind of gangsters. You are nothing. You are a child and you are a coward if you threaten people. If you think, you have knives, they do this in London, people have guns in America and all that, or you are cool. No, you are just a coward. Because really, what you are is that you are nothing. You have not achieved anything. You've not passed any exams. You don't have 5 degrees like I have. You don't have nothing. And then you have absolutely nothing to show. So this is, if that's the person that you think you are as a leader, leading young people into gangs, to go and fight other people, into crime, then you are a disgrace. You know, because there are people out there who really are a disgrace. And this is speaking to those people that, hey, we know who you are, and it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun.
There's always a way, and there's room to turn around.
Yes, of course.
There's room to turn around. You can get the Perot Show phone number. If you need to speak with any one of us on this panel, our doors are open. Room to turn around. The choice is yours.
I think, having said that, a lot of youngsters are going to watch this, you know, on social media. And I find that sometimes parents are not close enough to their children to the point where children can discuss the things that bother them with their parents.
I agree.
And sometimes they don't have any other close adult they can talk to. And so they wonder, who can I talk to? and the person will understand, and confidentiality will be assured, and I will receive objective, non-judgmental advice, and perhaps that person or people can, within the community, reach out to my parents and we can resolve issues. I'm saying that we can do that. If it's an initiative we have to deal with here, Happy Parent is putting this, together, and, his number is going to be displayed on this program. You can reach either of us. I am a solicitor myself. I deal with a whole lot of issues. I deal with children's law, family law, and all right. Mrs. Salako here is a school teacher, a mother, and a very well-experienced educationist. Clement here too, very well-experienced community worker. And of course, Mrs. Yemi Ojo, who has been there and has worked with a lot of successful young people. So sometimes you need to reach out with people who can help you as a young, the youngster there. Are you facing peer pressure? Are your friends forcing you to be part of their gang? You don't like what they do, but you feel like if you don't join them, you'll be left out, You need to speak to somebody. Have you found yourself in a situation where you're being blackmailed, where you're being pressurized, where you're being forced to conform, or where you're being forced to be introduced to illicit drugs, to alcohol, to belong, to make you feel like you're part of the group, and you can't do anything about? Do you have problems in school? I mean, are things getting to you, really? Do you need to talk to somebody? Do you feel like nobody listens to you at home? Do you feel like, nobody, cares? Youngsters have those problems. And sometimes when there is no outlet, when there's nobody to talk to, and when there's nobody to relate to, they rebel. And it comes out in what we see. So we must also learn to listen to our children. We must also learn, just like Mrs. Ojo said, that as a community, Perod, you have done the one aspect, most important aspect of this is highlighting this, so that it can become out there for the community to see. And I'm sure lots of people are going to follow this program. Listen to it. What will be our response thereafter? If it's not happening in your home, doesn't mean that it won't affect you. Because if you feel that, oh, my children are well, they're grown up, they're all graduates, I don't care. No, that is not true.
At all.
Because you're part of that community. As my people say, what affects the eye equally affects the nose.
Agreed.
From that note, I just want to thank everybody and just to say that pay tribute to single mothers. We are not
doing well, doing very well.
Single mothers who are doing well,
extremely well.
Single mothers that we know are bringing up their children amazingly, beautiful children that are excelling. The reason why we really have to highlight the issue of the single mothers is to call on the single mothers who are not within that group to please come in. All parents, single mothers, everybody who are not within that group of people who are bringing up their children to excel, to please step back, think a little, and say, okay, I've been doing that which is wrong. I just want to join that group now that are making us proud. I want to bring up children who are role models. That's what we are talking about. So that's what we are celebrating. Once again, thank you. Amazing. Shout out to all single mothers who are doing great things in Ireland. Viewers, I just want to say thank you. Whosoever is watching this program, this is the beginning of a series of meetings that we're going to have. This has officially now been named the panel. So you're going to watch it in different social media platforms out there, podcasts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. You're going to watch it there. So thank you for watching and for coming back to listen to us and follow us on the journey towards finding a solution to some of the problems confronting us in Ireland. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.